This is D. Who's that?
Danielle Spencer's life, from the bright lights of what's happening to her final years battling illness, was a journey interwoven with both glory and loss, with relationships that once lifted her up and wounds that never fully healed. The 7 names she left behind were not meant to rekindle grudges, but to remind us that behind every on-screen smile lies a real story filled with genuine emotions that can sometimes be fragile. If this story resonated with you, support the channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing so we can continue bringing deeper, more human perspectives on the lives of the artists you love. Together, let's keep their memories and the lessons they left us alive. Danielle Spencer's mysterious childhood. If you only looked into the mischievous eyes and the half-mocking, half-affectionate smile of Dee Thomas in What's Happening, it would be hard to imagine that the little girl had grown up with a childhood full of twists and turns, sheltered by a family that was incomplete yet full of love. Danielle Spencer was born on June 24, 1965, in the Bronx, New York, a city that could both embrace and challenge anyone, especially a child. From the moment she was born, she lived in a two-sided world. The bright lights of American entertainment shone through her biological father, a television actor, while her everyday life was warmed by her mother, Cheryl Pelt, a resilient and patient woman. Danielle's parents divorced early, leaving an emotional gap that would be difficult for any child to fill. But fate gave her another anchor, her stepfather, Tim Pelt, who would become Daddy Tim for the rest of her life. He was not only the man of the household, but also her first teacher in the arts, the spark that ignited her passion for acting. Tim Pelt saw in his wife's daughter a rare potential quick wit, sharp observation, and a touch of innate boldness, qualities that would later make the character Dee Thomas a legend. Danielle began acting at the age of 8, not on grand stages, but in family role-playing games. Her stepfather often created scenarios for her to act out, sometimes as a sad character, other times as someone angry or hiding a secret. These spontaneous exercises trained Danielle to switch facial expressions in an instant, a skill audiences would later recognize when Dee Thomas rolled her eyes or delivered the cutting line, "Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mama." At age 11, a golden opportunity arrived. A casting call for ABC's new sitcom What's Happening was looking for a smart, quick-witted African-American girl to play the younger sister of the main character. Danielle walked into the audition room with no idea she was stepping into a defining chapter of her life. She didn't try to be overly cute or too serious. She simply reacted naturally as she would at home with Daddy Tim. The result, the director and producers were completely won over. They had found their Dee Thomas, and from that moment, Danielle became a professional child actress. But to get to the set, she had to learn to balance 2 worlds: the strict environment of school in New York and the hectic shooting schedule in Los Angeles. Her family especially. Her mother, Cheryl, acted as a filter to protect her from the harsh pressures of Hollywood. She wasn't allowed to be swept into lavish parties or reckless advertising deals. "You must always be yourself even when you're on screen," her mother often told her. One little-known detail, Danielle was actually quite shy in real life. Dee Thomas's cheeky tattletale personality was in fact an acting mask built on her stepfather's belief in her and her mother's patience. She preferred staying home to draw or read books about animals, rather than running around with friends. This early love for animals would later lead her into veterinary medicine, a second career choice that few would have predicted for a former television child star. The Spencer Pelt family wasn't wealthy, but they were close-knit. They moved frequently, from the Bronx to the suburbs, then to Los Angeles, to accommodate the filming schedule. Each move meant Danielle had to adjust to a new school and new friends. This challenge made her adaptable in communication, able to read people's emotions, a valuable skill for both acting and veterinary work in the future. One milestone not to be overlooked came in 1976, when Danielle, her mother, and stepfather moved permanently to Los Angeles to make filming easier. She was just 11, both excited and anxious. Hollywood was a dazzling world, but her parents always reminded her that the stage lights could go out at any moment. That's why, alongside acting, Danielle had to maintain her academic performance, and she did, keeping an outstanding GPA throughout high school. Throughout her childhood, love and protection from her family were the foundation that kept Danielle steady in the face of storms. Her stepfather, Tim, didn't just take her to the set. He taught her to preserve her personal values amid praise and temptation. Her mother Cheryl was always there, both managing her schedule and listening to even her smallest stories. That's why when tragedy struck in September 1977, the accident that took Tim Pelt's life, Danielle fully realized how fragile everything she had truly was. But before that event, Danielle Spencer's childhood, though imperfect, was still a beautiful story of resilience, talent, and family bonds, the very elements that made little Dee Thomas beloved across America. From Little Dee to a resilient veterinarian, When What's Happening First aired in 1976. Danielle Spencer was only 11 years old, yet she carried herself with the poise of a seasoned performer. The role of Dee Thomas not only catapulted her into the spotlight, but also cemented the image of the witty little sister in the minds of millions of viewers. Her seamless chemistry with Ernest Thomas, Raj Haywood, Nelson Duane, and Fred Berry brought the sitcom to life and made her a household name. Danielle's acting career didn't stop with Dee. Between seasons of the show, she appeared in The Brady Bunch Hour 1977 and other children's television projects. In 1978, at the height of her career, her life took a sharp turn when a serious car accident claimed her stepfather's life and left her in a coma for 3 weeks. The accident forced Danielle to step away from the set, missing several episodes. And it was during this period that she began to see Hollywood differently. Less glamorous, more challenging. When What's Happening ended in 1979, Danielle was just 14 years old, but had already completed more than 65 sitcom episodes, a rare achievement for an African-American child actor at the time. Instead of chasing new roles, she chose to prioritize her education. She graduated high school with a 3.8 GPA, attended the University of California, Davis, and later transferred to Tuskegee University, earning her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree in 1993. During her college years, Danielle reprised her role in What's Happening Now, 1985 to 1988, portraying a more mature and grounded Dee. Balancing full-time studies with acting demonstrated her remarkable discipline and determination, proof that a child star could rewrite her destiny beyond Hollywood. Danielle's veterinary career spanned over 25 years in California. She ran her own clinic, participated in numerous animal rescue initiatives, and became known for her dedication to four-legged patients. Yet the stage lights never completely dimmed. She continued appearing on television in nostalgic programs such as TV One's Life, After Unsung Hollywood, and made guest appearances in As Good as It Gets, 1997, and Days of Our Lives, 2001. In 2014, a milestone moment came when the Smithsonian Institution honored her role as Dee Thomas as part of its permanent exhibition on African American history. Danielle expressed her emotion, saying that her image will be there for people to see years from now, even when I'm no longer here. A gentle yet profound premonition. From the little Dee who once exclaimed, "Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mama," Danielle Spencer had weathered personal hardships to become a symbol of resilience and versatility. Proof that a career's legacy is measured not only by the roles played, but by how one lives and contributes to the world long after the stage lights fade. Legacy in the series What's Happening. From the very first episodes of What's Happening, Dee Thomas, the small but quick-witted little sister, quickly became the show's secret weapon. While audiences laughed at the comedic antics of the trio, Raj, Duane, and Rerun Dee brought a different kind of humor, short, sharp, and perfectly timed. At just 11 years old, Danielle Spencer portrayed Dee as a character who refused to stay on the sidelines, every appearance marked by a telltale tattletale line or a knowing glance. The moment viewers heard her trademark, "Ooh, I'm gonna tell Mama," they could already picture Raj's troubles about to be exposed to their mother. What made Dee Thomas stand out from many other supporting characters of the era was a subtle balance. She was both a source of comedy and the conscience of the family. At a time when American sitcoms rarely explored the everyday life of African American families, Dee represented a younger generation that was intelligent, independent, and unafraid to voice her opinions. Her quick-fire exchanges with Raj, or her ability to call out the group's schemes, became highlights, sometimes making the supporting character even more anticipated than the leads. The influence of Dee Thomas was evident in the fact that although What's Happening only produced 65 episodes from 1976 to 1979, the image of the spirited curly-haired girl lived on through countless reruns. Viewers of all generations remembered Dee not just for her humor, but because she evoked the warmth and familiarity of family. Danielle Spencer made the role an inseparable part of her own identity, So much so that when she returned in What's Happening Now in the 1980s, audiences immediately recognized and welcomed her, as though greeting an old family friend. This success was acknowledged in many ways. In 2006 at the TV Land Awards, the cast received the lighthearted honor, Character Most in Need of a Timeout for Dee Thomas, proof that even decades later, the character left a strong impression. The pinnacle of recognition came in 2014, when the Smithsonian Institution included Danielle's image as Dee in its permanent exhibition on African American history. It was not only an acknowledgement of a single role, but also of the cultural significance of What's Happening, a landmark where Dee Thomas became an enduring symbol of wit charm and youthful intelligence on the small screen. The fateful 1978 episode. Danielle never watched again. There are some memories in life which, no matter how tied they are to one's career, and moments in the spotlight still carry a wound so deep that the person chooses never to revisit them. For Danielle Spencer, the What's Happening episode Trial and Error was one such wound. By title alone, audiences might expect a typical 1970s sitcom storyline, characters getting into trouble and scrambling for a way out. But for Danielle, it was the day when a fictional plot collided cruelly with a real-life tragedy. The episode's premise was pure sitcom Raj, the big brother in the show, accidentally causes an accident while making a delivery on his bicycle, crashing into a car and ending up in court. The story was meant to elicit lighthearted laughs, with friends rallying to help Raj face a not-so-serious trial. The script was full of snappy exchanges and the playful wordplay that defined What's Happening. Under normal circumstances, Dee Thomas, Danielle's character, would have appeared to drop a few sharp "I'm telling mama" lines or snarky comebacks. But in reality, the episode was filmed during Danielle's absence. And the reason for her absence was something no one could have imagined. On September 6, 1977, just days before the cast was set to film Trial and Error, Danielle Spencer and her stepfather Tim Pelt were involved in a devastating car accident along the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, California. The vehicle was crushed beyond recognition. Tim Pelt, whom Danielle loved as her own father, shielded her with his body and died instantly. Danielle was knocked unconscious, suffering severe head trauma, multiple fractures in her leg, arm, and pelvis. Doctors diagnosed a traumatic brain injury, and she remained in a coma for 3 weeks. Hollywood was stunned, and the What's Happening cast had to face the grim reality that their young star was hovering between life and death. During that time, the Trial and Error script was already locked into the production schedule and couldn't be canceled. The show went on without Dee. Her character was absent entirely, her name appearing only in the end credits. A quiet acknowledgement of the missing cast member. When the episode aired in October 1977, viewers had no idea that in real life, a horrific accident had just claimed one life and nearly taken the girl they loved watching on screen. Danielle later admitted she never watched Trial and Error. For her, the idea of seeing a comedy episode about a traffic accident, knowing that she herself had just survived a real one marked by grief and loss, was unbearable. The death of Daddy Tim left an unfillable void, and the fact that this episode was tied to that time made it a dark spot in her memory. She said that even hearing the title would bring back flashes, the smell of smoke, the sound of metal twisting the strobing lights of the ambulance. After waking from the coma, Danielle underwent 6 months of physical therapy to relearn how to walk and recover her once active body. At the time, many advised her to quit the show for her health, but she chose to return to the set once she was strong enough. Still, Trial and Error remained a gap she never wanted to fill, not because of the role, but because it was tied to the day that took her stepfather's life and left lifelong scars. What made this story especially haunting was the almost cruel coincidence between fiction and reality. On-screen Raj's accident was resolved with laughs and a happy ending. Off-screen Danielle's accident brought irreversible loss. The chasm between the two, one side scripted humor, the other real tears, was why she avoided the episode entirely. Her co-stars respected her choice. Ernest Thomas Haywood Nelson and Fred Barry all said they never brought up Trial and Error around Danielle. They remembered vividly the day they got the news. The shock, the disbelief, and the emptiness her absence left both professionally and emotionally. To viewers, Trial and Error was just another entry in the What's Happening episode list. But for Danielle Spencer, it was a timestamp marking the turning point of her life. From that accident forward, she became more cautious, more mature, and deeply aware of life's fragility. Her decision not to rewatch the episode wasn't avoidance. It was her way of keeping the wound from being torn open again. In the years that followed, Danielle kept working and contributing both in entertainment and in veterinary medicine. But trial and error stayed outside the boundaries of memories she was willing to share. In interviews about that period, she would only say, "I don't remember much about the accident, but I remember losing Daddy Tim. And that's enough to keep me from ever watching that episode." Ups and downs, and the struggle to rise after the spotlight. After the shock of trial and error, and the fateful 1977 accident, Danielle Spencer entered a new chapter of her life. No longer the little D who lived only in the laughter of TV audiences, but a young woman carrying heavy physical and emotional scars. 6 months of physical therapy got her back on her feet, but the true recovery took years. Injuries to her leg and spine left lingering pain, sometimes pulling her out of normal activities. More than that, the loss of her stepfather, the man who guided her into the profession, left an emptiness in her heart that was hard to fill. Yet Danielle did not choose to withdraw completely. When her health allowed, she returned to the set, finishing the remaining episodes of What's Happening until the show ended in 1979. It was proof of rare determination for a child actor, continuing to work while still on the road to recovery. But afterward, instead of chasing new roles, Danielle set her sights on a path few expected: education. She devoted her early 20s to veterinary medicine, a dream that had sprouted in childhood from her love of animals. Graduating high school with a GPA of 3.8, she attended the University of California. Davis then transferred to Tuskegee University, where she earned her Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree in 1993. This was a pivotal step, pulling Danielle out of Hollywood's cycle, a place where many of her fellow child stars struggled to transition into adulthood. But life was not done testing her. The lingering effects of the old accident continued to smolder in her body. In 2004, Danielle began experiencing unusual symptoms: partial numbness, loss of balance. Doctors diagnosed spinal stenosis, a direct complication of the spinal injury from 27 years earlier. She underwent complex spinal surgery, but complications left her temporarily paralyzed for 8 months. During that time, Danielle lived at the Kessler Institute for Rehabilitation, patiently relearning even the smallest movements to regain her ability to walk. When things seemed stable, another challenge arrived. In 2014, Danielle was diagnosed with breast cancer. The news stunned her. "With everything I'd been through with the spinal injury, I thought God wouldn't put me through another test," she once shared. Yet once again, she chose to face it head-on. Danielle underwent tumor removal surgery and treatment while also engaging in breast cancer awareness efforts, inspiring other patients along the way. Still, the shadow of the 1977 accident had not lifted. In 2018, 42 years after that day, Danielle began suffering from severe headaches. Scans revealed a brain hematoma, a delayed complication from the traumatic brain injury she'd sustained decades before. Emergency surgery saved her life in the nick of time. The event once again shocked friends, colleagues, and fans at the unrelenting series of trials she had endured. What's remarkable is that despite facing illness and crisis after crisis, Danielle Spencer always maintained her optimism. Colleagues described her as a warrior, not only for her endurance, but for the way she turned painful experiences into motivation to help others. In veterinary medicine, she empathized deeply with the suffering of injured animals and sought to heal at the root rather than merely ease symptoms. In her personal life, she used the fame from What's Happening to participate in charity events, especially for animal welfare and cancer patient support. Danielle's life after the spotlight was not just a series of medical diagnoses and surgeries, but a journey to live fully with the health she had left, to uphold her values, and to keep contributing. She proved that a person can step away from the stage and still shine through compassion, resilience, and the ability to inspire others to overcome adversity. Looking back, many realized that it was the years after fame that best defined who Danielle Spencer was. She was not only the little D loved by millions of viewers, but a woman who had lived many lives, each time standing back up after a fall, leaving behind a legacy of perseverance and empathy. And perhaps because she was so used to facing the harshest challenges, Danielle could walk through every storm with a smile, even if behind it was a sky full of patience and pain that few could ever see. The passing of Danielle Spencer and the fans' heartfelt farewell. On August 11, 2025, news of Danielle Spencer's death at the age of 60 spread quickly, leaving the What's Happening community in shock. The actress, veterinarian, and animal rights advocate passed away at a hospital in Richmond, Virginia, after many years of courageously battling cancer. It marked the end of a long journey, one in which she had experienced both the heights of fame and the depths of hardship, yet always maintained an unyielding spirit. The news was confirmed by family and close friends. Haywood Nelson, her co-star who played Dwayne, was among the first to share his feelings on social media, calling Danielle Dr. D, and a true warrior who radiated positive energy, while expressing relief that she was finally free from the physical pain after her long fight. Ernest Thomas, Dee's on-screen older brother, grew emotional, recalling the first time he met her at the age of 9, and how they had been as close as real siblings ever since. For them, losing Danielle felt like losing a true family member. Her passing carried special meaning for the What's Happening cast. Of the 6 main faces who once brought so many lighthearted stories to life, only Ernest Thomas and Haywood Nelson remain. Fans realized that an entire generation tied to their childhood memories was slowly fading. Online forums and social media groups overflowed with nostalgic tributes, clips from beloved episodes and Dee Thomas's familiar lines, repeated with both laughter and tears. Not only American audiences, but also those who had watched What's Happening through international broadcasts expressed their grief. They remembered the curly-haired girl with sharp eyes and a mischievous smile who made a whole generation laugh with her "Ooh, I'm gonna tell mama" catchphrase. Many said that to them, Danielle Spencer was not just a television character, but a part of their childhood, a symbol of intelligence, wit, and resilience. Danielle's family held a private funeral honoring her and her loved ones' wishes. They extended their gratitude to everyone who had loved Danielle for decades and encouraged people to remember her by donating to animal protection organizations, a cause she had devoted much of her life to. It was, they said, the most meaningful way to honor her life, not only by mourning her, but by continuing the work she believed in. The grief over Danielle Spencer's passing is not merely the loss of a small-screen star, but a farewell to someone who lived with courage, compassion, and an enduring ability to inspire. She has left this world, but the image of the quick-witted little Dee on screen and the real-life story of perseverance will remain forever in the hearts of her fans, a testament to how sometimes an iconic role and the actor's true character can merge into one, living on far beyond time itself. The legacy and life's meaning of Danielle Spencer. When people think of Danielle Spencer, they remember not only the mischievous Dee Thomas from the small screen, but also a woman who lived fully dared to move through loss and hardship, and left behind a legacy far beyond her acting career. Her role as Dee in What's Happening became part of American television history, a model of intelligence, wit, and resilience for Black children on national television. In the 1970s, when portrayals of African-American families were still rare on TV, the character of Dee helped break down barriers, opening the door for more diverse young faces to appear in Hollywood. But Danielle's legacy extended far beyond the arts. She stepped away from the spotlight at a time when many others would have clung to it to pursue veterinary medicine, a choice born from her love for animals and her desire to care for them with dedication. Over more than 25 years of practice, she saved thousands of pets, leaving a lasting impression on colleagues and clients as a veterinarian, both skilled in her craft and rich in compassion. The way Danielle faced adversity is also a vital part of her life's meaning. From the accident that took her stepfather's life to the series of illnesses that followed, she never lost her optimistic spirit. Rather than focusing solely on her own pain, Danielle transformed those experiences into motivation to help others. From sharing her personal story to raise awareness about breast cancer to participating in animal protection efforts. The Smithsonian Institution's decision to include Dee Thomas's image in its permanent exhibition in 2014 was an official acknowledgement of Danielle's lasting influence on popular culture. But for many fans, her true legacy was inspiration proof that a person can succeed in multiple fields, can fall, yet rise again, and can leave the stage, yet continue to shine through acts of kindness. Danielle Spencer lived a life in which fame was never the ultimate goal, but merely a chapter that opened opportunities for her to do good. And so, when she passed, audiences mourned not only a childhood star, but also honored the image of a strong, compassionate woman. One who proved that the greatest value of a life lies in how we live and love, not merely in the applause we receive. If Danielle Spencer's story has touched you, please support our channel by hitting subscribe, like, and share on this video/article. Every interaction you give is motivation for us to keep bringing you profound and inspiring stories about the lives and legacies of remarkable individuals. Let's keep their memories and the lessons they leave behind alive, not just on screen but in all of our hearts.